There are a couple ways to interpret this story. Trump administration ignores judge's order to turn deportation planes around. You may have a story of Donald Trump being based and saying to the judge, no, you cannot tell the president in how he handles foreign policy. Thank you. Have a nice day. That's effectively the statement that they put out. Now, the story's murky. What we have here is the Trump administration was deporting alleged criminals, Tren de Aragua members, terrorist aliens, they're being called. Some of the worst of the worst. They were put on planes and flown to El Salvador, where they will be held in El Salvadorian prisons. Now, what we don't know is the exact timeline of events because it all happened in the middle of the night. But a judge ordered yesterday that the planes be turned around in midair if they had already left. The argument from the right is, are you nuts? Individuals that have already departed American territory are now over international jurisdiction are not going to be turned around because a single judge in some city ordered a plane to do it. That's insane. And that Democrats would try to mandate this as some kind of constitutional crisis, that a single judge is going to be like, I order the president to turn around a plane heading to international territory as part of foreign policy agreements is psychotic. The argument from the Democrats, they're saying, no, it's a different story. They want to know, and they're arguing, the planes had not left yet. The judge said, do not deport these people, and if there are any planes in the air, turn them around. Well, that was the mistake they made. But of course, if the planes had already taken off, nothing you can do about it. But I'll add one more to it. I would say reasonably, let's say at midnight, a judge goes, do not deport these people. And then at 1 a.m., the plane takes off. I still argue you were too late, Your Honor. And I mean this with no disrespect to that judge. I'm saying you have a massive executive mechanism and foreign treaties. In fact, one could even argue the judge's order would never under any circumstances take effect. And it's not a constitutional crisis. Donald Trump entered into a treaty with a foreign government pertaining to foreign individuals. That's it. Judge ain't going to stop that. The president handles foreign policy. We went over this during the Biden administration. Why wasn't Texas deporting all of these illegal immigrants? Because the federal government handles foreign relations, and a judge can't overturn foreign agreements. Sorry, that's the reality. But of course, we are entering some pretty interesting territory, my friends. A story from yesterday. Let's read from ABC News. Of course, before we get started, smash that like button. Comments below. I ask each and every one of you to let me know what you think, to post your comments, and not just be a passive viewer of the news, but an active participant. You're here, man. Post that comment. Say, I think Trump is right. I think Trump is wrong. And then smash that like button. ABC News says, President Donald Trump's administration made a calculated decision to ignore a judge's directive to turn around 2 flights containing hundreds of alleged Venezuelan gang members, sources familiar with the matter told ABC News. The verbal order from the chief judge of the Washington, D.C. District Court, James Boasberg, explicitly told the government to turn around any aircraft that had already departed the country if it's still in the air. Can I just pause right now? And I want to say how psychotic it is, this idea that a single judge would instruct the president of the United States to take what is arguably foreign policy or military action. That is insane. But not so simple. Quote, you shall inform your clients of this immediately. Any plane containing these folks that is going to take off or is in the air needs to be returned to the United States, Boasberg said during a hearing on Saturday. However, that's accomplished, turning around the plane or not embarking anyone on the plane, that is something that you need to make sure is complied with immediately. Finding the deportations would cause irreparable harm. Boasberg barred the Trump finding the deportations would they're missing a comma. Finding that the deportations would cause irreparable harm, Boasberg barred the Trump administration from deporting, quote, all non-citizens who are subject to the AEA proclamation for at least 14 days, imposing a temporary restraining order or TRO. During the time while the lawsuit makes its way through the courts, Immigration and Customs Enforcement is meant to keep the non-citizens in its custody. However, top lawyers and officials in the administration made the determination that since the flights were already over international waters, Boasberg's order did not apply. The administration said the planes needed to land because of operational and national security reasons, sources told ABC News. It was during the hearing that the two planes took off. Sources said the administration wanted to get these planes in the air and over international waters prior to any ruling from the judge. However, Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt claimed on Sunday evening the administration did not refuse to comply with the court order. She said the order was issued after these alleged gang members had already been removed from U.S. territory. We have the actual full quote. I don't know why they don't actually give it. Let me see if we can get the full statement here from Carolyn Leavitt. I think, what is it, NBC News? Do they have it? I thought CNN had it. They say, quote, the administration did not refuse to comply with a court order. They're not giving the full quote. A single judge in a single city cannot direct the movements of an aircraft carrier full of foreign alien terrorists who were physically expelled from U.S. soil. A distinction Leavitt made about the judge's written order, and the fact she noted the migrants had left U.S. soil but did not say when the timeline they arrived in El Salvador seemed significant. Her use of the phrase aircraft carrier is confusing, however, and White Houses don't have the power to decree whether court orders are lawful. They say federal courts generally have no jurisdiction over the president's conduct of foreign affairs, his authorities under the Aliens Enemies Act, and his core Article 2 powers to remove foreign alien terrorists from U.S. soil and repel a declared invasion, Leavitt said in a statement. She's not wrong. If that's the game they wanted to play, it's there. Look, you don't get the Biden administration playing fast and loose, and then when Trump comes in, now you're going to cry about it. They said on Sunday, the Trump admin asked the D.C. Circuit Court for a stay on Boasberg's ruling. Administration officials contend that Boasberg lacked the jurisdiction to enter the TRO, which administration describes in a filing to the appellate court as unprecedented. Quote, this court should halt this massive unauthorized imposition on the executive's authority to remove people that defendants had determined to be members of TDA, a group the president and secretary of state have found to be a threat to national security and also a terrorist organization. This court should halt this unprecedented intrusion upon the executive's authority to remove dangerous aliens who pose grave threats to the American people, wrote a DOJ attorney in an emergency motion for a stay, referring to the passengers aboard the flight, whom the administration alleges are members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Trump announced on Saturday that he had signed a proclamation declaring that Tren de Aragua gang was conducting irregular warfare against the U.S., and therefore would deport its members under the Aliens Enemies Act of 1798. The stay argued that Trump's actions in invoking the AEA are not subject to judicial review, and that there was no lawful basis for the court to enjoin the implementation of the president's proclamation. If this TRO allowed to stand, the DOJ wrote, district courts would have license to enjoin virtually any urgent national security action upon bare receipt of a complaint. The D.C. Circuit Court ordered a response to be filed by Tuesday at 5 p.m. by the attorneys representing the plaintiffs in the underlying case. Yeah, nothing you do about this. The idea, they're playing this game, even CNN, look at this. White House denies ignoring court order, halting Venezuelan deportations. They're calling it a constitutional crisis moment or at the border of one, saying Trump is acting now and not waiting for the consequences. Trump is wielding huge power now, says CNN. This leaves those who might constrain him, including the courts and his political opponents, to ask questions later after his actions have wrought almost irrevocable change. The invocation of the Alien Enemies Act to speed up deportations is a significant step, as it is meant to be limited to its use in wartime. Perhaps. Trump declared an invasion. You want to play these games? Welcome to the game, Democrats. They opened the box. Trump was playing softball. He was playing t-ball in his first term. And they said they wanted to play tackle football. Trump said, okay, we'll play, but I will give a shout out to the great Noam Chomsky. The far left had been engaging in violence for some time, and Noam Chomsky said, we should not do this. For when you engage in the arena of violence, it is the most aggressive that win, and that is not us. That's what he said to the left. You see, the right, let me describe it for you in bar fight terms. The right is the guy sitting at the bar, head down, with a pint of Guinness, minding his own business, grumbling to himself. And people are doing who knows what's over there. They're annoying, they're loud, and he says nothing. And his buddy's like, man, those people sure are annoying. And he goes, chill. I don't want to get into a fight, whatever. Now, you may be saying, that's who the Republicans are? The guy's sitting at the bar while a ruckus is going on and he's doing nothing. Indeed. They're trashing the bar. They're causing problems. And the guy says, leave me out of it. Now, I don't completely respect that. But here's what ends up happening. They walk up and they say, hey, I'm talking to you. You got a problem? And the guy goes, I ain't got no problem. Back off. And they decide to pick a fight with the guy, the quiet guy, who gets up and goes, bam. That's it. That's the trope we're dealing with. The Republicans, much to the chagrin of many of us, they were refusing to do anything about the problems that were going on. The Democratic Party's favorability is in the gutter. It's trash. And the reason is largely this. People are fed up with all of it. And so finally now, Donald Trump is the guy who is quiet and he says, you want to make me fight? I'll fight you and you will lose. And now they're crying about it. Oh, no. Donald Trump is actually going to start enforcing the law and using the powers of the executive branch in ways they never thought would be done. But were always possible. They say millions of voters sent Trump to Washington to destroy institutions that they believe do not reflect their culture, values, and material interests. And polls show that among his supporters, Trump's actions are popular. His mantra is to act fast, since limits on presidential power are mostly retrospective, meaning that Trump can get the desired results before he can be stopped. Well, I'll give Cuomo a shout out on that one. Cuomo shut down churches. And everybody begged, please don't do this. And he says, I can do whatever I want by executive order. When the courts told him he couldn't, he said, okay. The churches are open. Wait, here's a new executive order doing the exact same thing. Sue that one. That's the game you wanted to play. So you want to play that game? You have just opened a box, Pandora's box. A can of worms, not a box of worms. Donald Trump's going to say, oh, okay, this order has been challenged. Okay, I'm going to issue a new one. Bang, right now. In fact, Trump's going to have his legal team get 10 orders, all slightly different, and he's going to say, here's an order. Then the courts are going to come out and say, we blocked that. Don't worry, I signed another one right afterwards, which is slightly different, but does similar things. And the judge is going to be like, we blocked that one. The only problem, it's going to take the courts days or weeks to respond, and Trump can sign these things off in 5 minutes. These are the games Democrats decided to play, and this is what you get now. Trump is a wartime president. It's time the Democrats stopped pretending, and it's time people in the media started paying attention. Where this is going doesn't sound fun, but it wasn't started by Trump. I'll leave it there. Stay tuned. We got more segments coming up, and we will see you all in a bit.